Hello students, and on popular demand today I am taking the PopQ lecture once again. The previous lecture was actually in Hindi. Part of it my other students, especially from South and other regional states, were not able to comprehend it so properly. So not just in this would I be taking the lecture which I'd already taken before, but I promised for a quiz. You know, in different circumstances you have to make the grid, you have to think, you have to logic yourself, and then I'll give you the answer. So that portion also I'm going to include in lecture as much as possible. How much would it be available for free video to all my students, that I cannot promise, but yes, I'll try my best to cover as much as possible and provide as much as possible online. So let's begin without wasting any further time with the basics. So basically this PopQ system came into vogue for the simple reason that we do not want to label it as a cystocele or a erythrocele or a rectocele or an enterocele, for the simple reason that the prolapsing part that we can see, we do not know what structure lies beneath it. Okay, so what we'll say is that this part, this particular point is coming outside. So we have a rough idea as to how much is the prolapse. Alright, and the extent of the prolapse. So this was the first thing that we needed to know, and we needed to confirm this thing, that we're not talking about erythrocele and cystocele. See, basically it's been going on from a long time. Generations have depended on the earlier system of prolapse. So it's kind of a taken, that if the proximal part is prolapsing, it has to be erythrocele. If the posterior part is prolapsing, it has to be cystocele. But this was the whole agenda of bringing it into notice, and secondly, to make it more uniform method of grading the prolapse, because the management of prolapse, it depends upon the extent of prolapse, right? And how will you know the extent of prolapse if you are vaguely calling it stage 1, stage 2? So these things are more specific. They tell you exactly the compartment defects, so that you can structure your management accordingly. My regular students have an access to all my videos in which I have spoken and talked about the management regarding different defects of prolapse. Suppose there are apical defects, what are the options available according to the age of the patient and the reproductive status of the patient? The anterior compartment defects have to be dealt with in which fashion? Then you have a complete whole range of urogyne lectures. So for them it's easy to comprehend, and I'm sure that you've been benefited by those lectures. For the others who want to learn more about these lectures, please WhatsApp me on the given number. I'll try to help you as much as possible. Now let's get back to the topic. And like I said, two very important things in the beginning of my lecture, that we need to plan the management. So for that we need to know where is the defect and how much is the defect. Right now I'm going to tell you where and how much is the defect, and then we'll grade it later on. Alright, so just try to watch up close. First of all, you need to be very well well versed with this diagram. PopQ is incomplete if you do not know in your sleep how to make this diagram. Alright, so in your exams, if at all a question of PopQ comes and you mess up with the points, you are not going to be forgiven. Neither will you be forgiven in your table viva or your short case if at all it comes on prolapse, or on the major case if at all it comes on prolapse. So you need to know these points very well. So let me start. See, this is a basic diagram in which you can see this is the the ureter, you have urethra, you have the bladder, you have the vagina out here, and this is the uterus. This is your rectum, this is the anal orifice. So basically we are going to start naming the points now. So let's start with the point AA and point BA. Alright, now I'm talking about anterior vaginal wall, the first part of the grid. So now I'm going to talk about point AA and BA. Alright, anterior vaginal wall. Point AA happens to be 3 centimeters from the external urethral meatus or the introitus. That means I'm talking about, this is the introitus, this is the urethral meatus. So here 3 centimeters inside, obviously on the anterior vaginal wall, is your point AA. Okay. Now we'll move further towards point BA. Little controversial, but if you try to understand what I'm saying, you'll be able to do it in no problem. So let's talk about point BA. Point BA happens to be on the anterior vaginal wall, yes. but this point BA happens to be the most dependent or the most prolapsed part of the anterior vaginal wall. I'll make you understand it better when I start giving you examples. Right now, you just keep memorizing all that I'm saying. Point BA happens to be the most prolapsed or the most dependent part of the anterior vaginal wall. Just remember this. I'll give you the clarity later on. Posterior vaginal wall, AP is the same as AA, 3 centimeters on the anterior vaginal wall, 3 centimeters to the hymenal orifice or to the hymenal ring. So 3 centimeters inside or 3 centimeters on the posterior vaginal wall happens to be point AP. What about BP? Same thing. Point BP happens to be where just encircle these points to make it easy for you. Point BP happens to be the most dependent, the most prolapsed part in the posterior vaginal wall. Now comes point C and point D, the apical points. C happens to be the cervix, D happens to be the posterior fornix. Okay, the posterior fornix, which might be the same as BP. If at all it is an apical defect, but it will be different if suppose it is not an apical defect, it's a rectocele or something. Now, see, if a layman, in a layman manner, or let's say to ease it up a little, what happens is we can also say, for example, if there is a urethrocoele, that means this part is prolapsing, then point AA will be coming out, or it will be -3, say maybe -2 or -1 or maybe +1, right? If suppose the the bladder is prolapsing, then maybe it's kind of pushing the point BA, making it more dependent, and that might just start prolapsing out. So in this case, and now I'll also tell you the normal length of these points in a short while. But right now you should know that this might be a scenario possible. If it is an apical defect, that means if the cervix or the uterus has itself shifted, then it's the point C and D which is going to come down. Basically, point D happens to be also taken for vault defects. Suppose if it is already a hysterectomized patient and there is a vault prolapse, then point C becomes point D. That also you should know. BP happens to be more of enterocele kind of a thing in layman terms. BP comes when it gets prolapsed. Basically, this part becomes more dependent and it comes out. So we label it as BP point is coming out and it has come to this particular length. And AP roughly stands for rectocele. So you know the kind of significance of these points. I'll make it more clear in the next lecture to come, and a little bit about genital hiatus, perineal body, and total vaginal length. So this mostly my lecture will be revolving around this grid and this part of the grid. For most of the lecture, I'll be considering them almost constant. So genital hiatus is like from the midpoint of the urethral meatus to the posterior midpoint of the hymenal ring, and perineal body from the midpoint of hymenal ring to the midpoint of anal orifice, and total vaginal length, the vaginal length in total. Now my next lecture is going to include what are the normal values and how to measure them.